So today I'm just going to leave it open for questions and comments and requests, but while I'm waiting, I'm going to be sewing a simple one-layer apron. I've just got the canvas here that I used for my grocery tote, and we're going to be using a few techniques that we learned in previous videos. We're going to be doing the little miter corners like we did on the cloth napkins, and we're going to be doing the straps like we did on the other apron, and also anything that uses bias tape, but instead of the waist one being a full folded over till it's 4 layers, we're just going to fold it so it's 2 layers, so just one side in, and that's going to be a waistband across this apron. You can make this apron basically with 2 fat quarters if you wanted to use quilting cotton and then some bias tape. And I think that's all you would need, honestly. Like, you could do 2 fat quarters and bias tape and you'd be set. So let's get started, huh? I've got my little piece that I've got cut into kind of a trapezoid. This is going to be the top of the apron. And I have the top so that it's just a little under 10 inches across, like 8 to 10 inches, depending on how wide you want it across your chest. And then the bottom, I have it so that it gets to about 22 inches. Meanwhile, this piece here is 18 by 24. You could use just 2 fat quarters or cut it yourself or make it smaller if you want to do a child size apron, or larger if you want to do like a shop apron or a bigger adult size apron. So yeah, let me know if you have any requests. But the first thing that I did was do some ironing, which I didn't want to do on camera because it takes forever and it's boring. And so I've got some bias tape basically that I've made, but instead of folding it all the way over, I've got it just with the edges folded in. And I've got the full length of the fabric of this, which for my fabric was not very wide because I think I'd already cut up the fabric to use in a quilt a long time ago. But I'm going to be doing it with a Velcro closure, so it doesn't have to be tied to the back. But if you have a long strip, this is going to be the waist ribbon, and so it should be fairly long. And then I've got my little 22-inch normal 4-inch turned to 1 inch for the neck, but you could also make this tie in the back and have 2 of them, or you could have it be attaching with snaps or Velcro. So, I mean, the way that you do the closures is really totally up to you, and you can do it tons of different ways. And then I've got some little extra here that I started to do in case I didn't have to do any ends. And I think that the first thing that I want to do is probably start working on the body and then sew these later. So I think the first thing I'll do is this top piece. I'll leave the bigger piece for second. And this is just going to be using a straight stitch and any old needle. If you're going to be working with very thick canvas, you could always use, a more sturdy needle. And I'm just going to be folding the edges, and I ironed, but you don't have to. So just fold the edges in and then fold them in again so that you have your nice finished edge. You could always just serge the edge and fold it in once, but then you'd want to make your piece a little smaller. So I'm going to do both sides and just sew them down, and then the top the same way. And this is just a really quick, simple sew. And since the top is going to be folded, I'm not going to worry about going back and forth over that part. And same thing on the other side. And mine rolls it a little bit because I wasn't being super careful, but you can iron it to kind of fix that. And then the top. The same exact way. Just fold over once and then fold over again. And now we'll set that piece aside. And then for the bottom, we're going to do the corners like how we did for the napkin, which is to fold all the edges in kind of half the width. So for this, I'm doing like half an inch and an inch, or a little less than half an inch and like 3/4 of an inch, something like that. And so I've got everything folded in that first amount and then pressed, and then folded in again to where you want the final one edge to be, and then pressed again. See, like that. And then the front the same. And then you end up with this kind of grid crease at the corner here. And you fold over these ones in, and then sort of fold it back. Just line up that corner. And then you can get some sort of a straight edge or something at the right corner, like a square. And wherever your little corners matched up right there, you're going to do a little line. For me, it's right there. And then you can mark it, or you can just sew it. And you're going to do the same thing on both bottom corners. So fold your edges in, and then fold them back to line them up. And you don't have to do, an angled corner on this. You don't have to do a miter corner. You could just fold it over like you did on the top, but this is kind of a nice finished looking edge. And then you're just going to sew down that. I'm just going to cut that off right there. And notch that corner. And we're going to go to the opposite corner and do the same thing. And now we're just going to get our straight edge or our bodkin or our, crochet hook, whatever you want to use to turn that corner. And we're going to pop that corner so it's nice and square. You could also do a rounded corner, but I'm just doing square corners. Here's our nice little pretty miter corner. Same thing on the other side. And now you can repress or just kind of hold it down to get your nice square edge again. You can use clips if you want. And I think that type of a corner just really makes it look very clean. It's a nice finished edge. I guess I'm so used to clipping for the cloth diaper month that I haven't been using pins lately. I probably would have normally used pins for this. And the same thing for the sides here. So what's everybody else working on? What projects does everybody have going on right now? Also, I was wondering if anybody would like me to make a Discord for people to ask questions or to reach out or, to give suggestions for videos or any sort of, troubleshooting they want to do. Let me know if a Discord would be helpful to some of you. I was also thinking about, if I should try doing a Twitch stream. I know that Twitch is probably not the greatest for this sort of thing, but once I get more into other arts, maybe it would be better. There is the arts section of that. I just don't know what everybody's the most interested kind of platforms people like to use. When I was, younger, like a young adult, everybody used IRC. But now I think Discord is kind of the replacement for that. And then there's voice chat, there's videos, there's photos, there's, regular text. You get notifications and such. Okay, and now you're just going to sew down, just like we did on the top, just along the inside edge of this to keep it all nice and flush. You could also put in like a pocket into this apron. You could have a lower pocket or a chest pocket. That would just go into the pieces. This is going to be the bottom half, the sort of skirt part of the apron, and then the other one is going to be the chest piece. Okay, so the next part here might be a little surprising. It's just what I'm going to do. It's definitely not like the only way to do this. I just, thought it would be fun. I'm going to be putting the pieces with the positive side, the outside edge, away from each other. We're going to be doing something a little different than usual with the way we assemble these. There you go. So the reason I'm doing it this way is because I don't want the exposed seam to be on the inside there. It's going to be underneath the waistband and on the outside. But that's only because I'm not doing it as a one-piece apron. I'm doing it as a two pieces, basically 2 fat quarters with the waistband and, with the piece of bias tape as my trim. And I'm just going to, go however far away I want it to fold, probably about half an inch. Just enough that it's an easy to fold edge. This isn't following any sort of pattern. This is just improvised. Okay, now I'm going to trim up my little edges here. Then you're going to fold it. And if you wanted to press it now, you could. And just take this and just press it outwards. Since mine's canvas, it kind of self-presses, but if you wanted to iron it, you totally could. Or if you were using quilting cotton or something. But you don't want to pin it or anything, because then the pins won't be able to be accessed once we sew. And you can see the side that you're going to see, on the inside edge is all nice and smooth. And if you wanted to measure these so that they were precisely the same width at the bottom, you totally could, but I don't think it's really necessary because you won't really see it. Okay, so now you take one of your folded over, find the right one. There we go. The one that we had from earlier, where we just folded the sides in, but we didn't fold it the rest of the way. This one here is 2.5 inch total width, therefore it would end up being, like 1 1/4 inch. I just wanted to make sure that it was wide enough to cover all this. You could press it so that there's no crease in the middle too. And what I'm going to do is decide which side I want it connected on, and this is the wrong one, which side I want it connected on and which side I want to be like the strap that goes around, because mine's going to be Velcro. But if you were going to be doing a tied one, then you would just center it and then have 2 pieces, have it be much longer, and then have 2 pieces that then are going to sew onto the back to make it the completed strip. But for me, I think that I will have the attachment on the left side here. Well, I'm right-handed, maybe right side. Yeah, I guess so. I'll do right side. Okay, so then I'm gonna leave it about 3 to 4 inches out beyond the end here. And now you can pin it down. Make sure that it's lined up nicely. Take your pins. Or if you wanted to use like spray adhesive or something like that, you could. And just line the middle of your seam up with the middle of that piece of bias tape that you made that's folded open. And we're just going to keep it lined up right down the middle and just pin it every few inches. And you could use a complementing color. You could use another piece of canvas. You can use, you know, a different pattern. Anything you want. And then for this side that's exposed here, I'm going to fold this back over on itself to make sort of an edge. And I haven't decided yet if I want to do Velcro or snap, but that can be kind of added on after the fact. And I'm just going to take this edge here and fold this under so it's not, you know, so that it's a finished edge, so that it's not going to fray. And I'm just going to fold that back and cover up all that raw edge material there, so that it's a nice finished edge. So it sort of aligns back on itself. It's puckering a little funny. I'm just trying to even it out. There you go. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do, now that it's pinned together, is I'm going to sew just around that and all the way down. And then when I get to the end here, I'm going to stop like an inch from the edge, like maybe 2 inches, inch or 2 inches from the edge, and then go and do the other side, just the waistband part. And then we're going to do the strap part after that. I'm just going to hug very close to the edge. And if you wanted to press it first so that, you know, it was nice and pressed without any wrinkles, you can. And then back the other way. And then I think I'll go to that same spot that I did it on this side to make it look even and do a stitch down, just to make it look intentional, like a style choice. Okay, so now we have our little waistband that hides our seam, our raw edge seam. And then on the inside, it's just this nice finished edge. You can see that there. And then if you wanted to do a buckle, you could do like a 2 D rings, and you could do like that kind of a strap. Or you could do, excuse me, Or you could do a buckle, or you could do Velcro or snaps, or you could have another, you know, tie strap attached there as well. And then for the other side, I'm just going to take my edge. We're still going to be using it to hide that sort of raw edge there, but we're going to be making sure this is all, you know, pressed and even. And then I have another piece that I'm going to use as the other side of it. It's a little short, I guess, but oh well. So for this side then, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to fold over one side. I'm going to have it line up to where that seam is there. Then you can pin that down. And then kind of, you know, make sure it stays lined up all the way to the edge. You don't need to pin it though, because you can just kind of work it as you go. And then when you get about an inch from the end, you're just going to fold in the edges to each other so that the edge is finished again. So let's do that side now. And just keep them lined up with your fingers as you sew. You could also use webbing or any sort of belt material for this. And then as you're approaching that end, you're just going to fold the bottom up and the top down so that they line up again. Take out my pin. And if you wanted to do the type of waistband that has two sides, you could just do the same thing and have this on both sides, have it both sides extend out, and then have this on both sides, and then have two ties. I just was, trying to use the least material. You could also use any sort of cording. You could use a thinner piece, you could use a thicker piece. As long as it's enough to cover your little seam allowance that's hidden by the waist. So there's my little waistband. It's pretty cute. And then for the neck, we're just going to take our 4-layer bias tape, just like we made for the neckband the other day. And instead of tucking it inside, we're just going to fold off the edge just to finish it. You could also fold it inwards this way. And then just set that behind and I like to just kind of line mine up with my seam there. Makes it look a little more intentional. And if you wanted to, you could sew this together first and then attach it. I think I'll probably do that, just to have less things holding onto the sewing machine. So I'm just going to sew all the way around this. To make the little strap. And this is pretty much how you make any kind of strap. And you don't have to sew it on both sides. You could just close that one, but I like how it looks with it sewn on both sides. Okay, now you've got both sides finished on your neck strap. And like I said before, you could do the neck strap with Velcro as well. You could have, it attached on one side and then have just Velcro on the other side for it to attach down to if you wanted to do it that way. And then you could have both your waist and your neck adjustable. But I'm just going to sew mine on. And this is pretty thick here. It's like multiple layers of canvas and multiple layers of your strap, depending on what fabric you use for your strap. So you might want to have a sturdy needle or just go really slow. You could always hand guide it. It's a good solution. And make sure it's not twisted. And then do the same thing to the other side. There's our strap. Like I said, you could put a pocket on. You could put, waist pockets on. Just finish the edges and just basically, fold in. If you wanted to do a pocket out of canvas, you would just fold in all 4 edges and then just sew it around 3 of the sides. Make sure you reinforce. You could do multiple pocket sections. Just sew up and down. There's lots of options to do once you have the basic sort of setup. It's kind of an all-purpose apron. It could be a shop apron. It could be a gardening apron, depending on what kind of fabric you use and what kind of accessories you add to it. So yeah, I think that's pretty successful. Hopefully that was easy enough to follow. And we'll be doing more live streams next Wednesday, every Wednesday. If you guys want to see a Discord or something like that, let me know in the comments. And probably easier to contact me that way, I guess. And yeah, I've got 3 more kitchen sews planned before the next live stream, and then we'll switch into bathroom stuff, I think. So if there's something else that you would like to see besides those 2, let me know. As we get toward gardening season, we can do more gardening accessories too. That'll be fun. Anyway, happy sewing.